Exactly. I mean, there's been this huge public uprising. There have been people who have been really active and clever as well on Twitter and on Facebook, and just making sure to email their MPs and to let them know that they are opposed to this bill. And we've already seen 3 backbench Conservative MPs, so Conservative MPs who didn't win by a wide margin, who have decided that they, in some capacity, oppose the bill.
Oh, that's interesting.
We are seeing some movement from the Conservative Party and some dissent within the ranks. And as the bill goes into committee, it's skipping second reading now and going to committee because of how unpopular it is.
Yeah.
We do have a chance to see some meaningful amendments,
right.
And hopefully the Conservatives will, know that they need to take advantage of that.
Well, both Stephen Harper and Vic Taves have hinted that changes to this bill could happen to hopefully suit the critics, right? How optimistic are you about that?
Moderately. I really think, though, that, if we are able to keep up the charge of Canadians, stay engaged and stay informed and continue to spread the word, that we can tell the Conservative government that we don't want this bill passed.
Yeah.
And if they absolutely must pass it, then we want measures for court oversight. We want measures for warrants. We want meaningful deterrence from abuse and a system to enforce all of those things. So, frankly, without that, we're not going to accept any kind of updated crime bill.
Now, let's say you're discussing this with your average law-abiding, non-kiddie porn surfing Canadian, why does this person need to be concerned about the government having this database of information and this warrantless access to your personal information? Well,
I mean, we're seeing the kind of online spying, the kind of invasion of Canadians' personal lives that it's approaching that of Syria and China, and we all know how problematic that is.
Yeah.
When the government has access and when they have lawful access, as they're saying, to Canadians' personal information, it does create and when someone is watching what you were doing online, or could be, it does turn the internet into a very closed and very paranoid space. And we want the internet to be open and to be utilized as a platform for engagement and dissent and discussion, and frankly, lawful access would stop that.
Right. And and given the fact that has been recently reported that the Conservatives employ people to rebut arguments that they don't like on the internet on social networking platforms and in chat rooms of any sort, right? They employ people to do that. Now, how far out of the realm of possibility is it for the Conservatives to compile a database of people that don't agree with them on the internet? Like, all you need is...
it would definitely be a possibility, and I'm not saying that it's their intention to do this, or that these bills necessitate corruption, but they do facilitate corruption,
right?
And they do leave the door wide open for abuse, and widespread abuse at that. So we do need to be very careful.
Yeah, all it would take is one police officer who's hugely sympathetic to the Conservative movement to submit a list of IP addresses to whatever ISPs are serving those customers, to get all the personal information and contact information of every single person in Canada that opposes the Conservative way of thinking, right? Is this... And
that stands for anybody who is in a position to be considered a lawful authority who wants to abuse things. It's political dissent that can be mulched, of course, but it's also any kind of dissent that goes against the whim of a law enforcement official. You associate with the wrong person, or you visit the wrong website, and you could suddenly find yourself much more liable to be detained for any kind of infraction. It definitely is a very problematic situation that you would enter in if that were the case. Yeah,
I guess the Conservatives, and especially Vic Taves, have probably got another one more reason for wanting to pass this so-called lawful access, because I refuse to call it the thing that they're calling it now anymore, starting from now. You know what I mean? I guess whoever started at WikiLeaks 30 to air Vic Taves' dirty laundry, and I guess they've traced that IP address to the House of Commons. I guess whoever started that Twitter account will be outed as soon as they pass this, right?
It's possible. I mean, the call is coming from inside the House of Commons, and joke, but it is difficult to say. It's coming from somewhere inside Parliament. They're having some trouble narrowing it down. The funny thing is that they have acquired the information that they do already have from an IP address, which they have argued in the bill, or in defense of the bill, that IP address, that gathering people's IP address doesn't really do anything, and yet that's how they've been gathering information on this individual. So
yeah,
it's really
exactly.
Quite ironic.
So as soon as they can, without a warrant, demand the personal information from the ISP of the person that's attached to this IP address, then boom, that person's out, right? Now, currently, can they not just get a warrant? But I guess to get a warrant, you'd have to have some sort of criminal investigatory reasoning behind it, right? And whoever did this Twitter account, that's not a crime to do what that person did, no matter how much the government wants to know who it is, right?
Well, yeah, in the case of WikiLeaks, I mean, it's coming from inside Parliament, which makes it already a difficult situation for any kind of intercept. There's a lot of activity coming from that IP addresses within Parliament, and there's a lot of security around that.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, I mean, yeah, it would be basically impossible to get a warrant since this person isn't actually committing any kind of crime.
Right. So in a post-lawful access environment, the government can just, as long as they know one cop that wants to do it for them, can have that information, and there's no way that anyone they don't have any auditable records of when they ask for this information and when they don't, so you don't know how much they're taking advantage of it, right? That's part of the concern as well.
Exactly. I mean, there is no system, and there's actually a system that prevents what is currently in Pt.2, which is a legal document that makes sure that we all have privacy rights. This actually goes against Pt.2 and says that we can't have access to information about the people who are accessing our information.
Right.
So that in itself becomes hugely problematic because you never know when somebody's watching, and the attitude that evokes online and the attitude that it evokes in real life even is one of paranoia and one of self-censorship. Yeah,
people that I know a lot of people who are, who definitely won't post anything political on Facebook because their name is attached to it. But once they get into their local newspaper's, online forum or whatever, and they've got an alias, boom, that's when their opinions come out. And it's not like any of these boards allow slander or any hate speech or anything like that. It's, you know what I mean, because they're moderated. It's just that where this person feels that anonymously they can express their real opinion without fear of reprisal. You know what I mean? And then that anonymity will be gone, and the effect will, like you say, will be a chilling effect. It'll stifle dissent against this government because everyone would expect that they would take an interest.
Absolutely, and even people like me I work for a non-partisan organization. So in my everyday life, under my own name, I can't express any kind of political opinions outside of those pertaining to the open and affordable internet. So I really rely on some degree of anonymity to be able to, come out as a vigilant conservative or as an NDP or whatever it is I am.
Yeah, exactly. Good. That's a very good point. Now, normally when we talk on this show about the conservative agenda and what's happening next and what will be happening in the future, if all goes according to their plan, we have more or less an attitude of resignation because there's nothing we can do to stop a conservative majority government in enacting their agenda. But it's really refreshing to talk to someone from openmedia.ca because you guys have had success in making the conservative government back down already. We're pretty good at that. Yeah, with your Stop the Meter campaign, right?
Yeah, we saw, and this was a pre-election period, of course, but we definitely saw, a good 1% of the Canadian population, 500,000 of the Canadian voting population, 500,000 Canadians coming together and signing the Stop the Meter petition, getting really engaged and really active on Twitter, getting the attention of then Industry Minister Tony Clement, and leading to eventually him forcing the CRTC, which is Canada's media regulator, back regulator back to the drawing board on some outrageous new internet fees.
Yeah.
So really, we see where citizen engagement comes through and is able to convince the government, any government, because it's a majority, but it's 4 years, and we are in a democracy, and they do have to at least have the guise of representing the people's interests.
Yeah, really.
So we're in a position where citizen engagement and a very loud outcry behind one consistent message is something that will get us to win.
Yeah. Now, Lindsey, how can our listeners help you and openmedia.ca in your struggle against the lawful access bill?
Well, we are approaching 100,000 signatures on the petition at stopspying.ca, which I would definitely encourage listeners to sign and add their name to. As well, we have many, many tools that you can find a link to that page that allow Canadians to email their MPs or to hand out flyers and petitions in their local areas, and just to overall make sure that people in their communities, in their networks, in their workplaces, their families know that this bill is coming and that it will be a huge threat to civil liberties in Canada, and that we need to stand up against it. Yeah,
and I guess the final round of this battle is going to occur once this bill has gone through committee and comes back to the House in its final form for a final reading and to be voted on. Do you know of, I guess, is there going to be protests, or is there a master plan to stop this or to turn up the heat on these guys, or what?
We don't have a master plan. If this does get passed in its current form, though, there will be a great deal of outcry, and there is very likely to be a charter challenge from several groups that I can think of, as well as a huge enraged populace. So I mean, the Conservatives would essentially at this point have to be out of their minds.
Yeah. So if they have to at least make some sort of attempt to make this a little less evil. Otherwise, I think there's going to be a huge outcry. And I mean, again, supporting Open Media by signing the petition and donating some cash would also help, I assume. And because you guys are a non-profit organization and have bills to pay, correct? And
we are. We're so small.
Yeah, and then it's a matter of making sure that if your local Conservative MP has any aspirations of re-election, you have to make that person understand that this bill is going to prevent that.